Good morning. It's Friday, April 9th. Welcome to another Faculty Spotlight series. And today you're in for a treat. We have one of our professors who wears many hats here on campus to talk to us about what he's been up to. And we have worked together in the past, but I'm excited to even learn more about our guest today. Let me also say that this is one of our newest initiatives on campus, where every Friday we launch from the Division of Academic Affairs the Faculty Spotlight Series. And thanks to the provost, Dr. Strayhorn, he has made this opportunity available so all can learn about the faculty here at Virginia Union University. Again, welcome and good morning. Ricky Parker, good to see you this morning. When we were in the green room, we got a chance to catch up just a little bit. And I was telling you, I was very impressed with what you've been up to. And so let me share little things about you. As I said, this time goes by so fast, but it gives us a chance to have a conversation and others get an opportunity to hear it. So we get a chance to learn a little bit more about you. Ricky Parker, you have been busy. You are now the executive director of the Ruth Coles Harris Leadership Institute here at the Sidney School of Business on Virginia Union University's campus. And just a little bit about the Ruth Coles Harris Leadership Institute. It does have a specific focus, and it works on preparing and developing students and members of the Richmond community to become leaders, scholars, and lifelong learners of global society. We know a little bit about Ruth Coles Harris. She's well known in our community. She is one of the first African American women to become a certified public accountant in the state of Virginia. She also served as the founding dean of the School of Business at Virginia Union University. And now that baton has been passed over to you, Ricky, to just take and provide leadership for this institute. But we also know that you have several other hats that you're wearing here on campus. You serve in several campus roles, including you are the special assistant to the provost. You're an adjunct professor of marketing within the School of Business. You are also the Center for African American History and Culture Steering Committee, and you're volunteer curator for the Virginia Union University Museum of African Art. So you are pretty well-rounded here. And also we learned that you're also an adjunct professor of advertising at VCU. And then outside of all that busyness that you do during the course of the day and the week and the month, you work in higher education. You also operate independently a firm with you and your wife called Dream for Purpose. So we want to learn all about all of those things. So we have a lot to unpack. So let's get started. Good morning again, Ricky Parker. And I said I like that professor has a nice ring to it. So I'm going to call you Professor Parker throughout this interview this morning. And let's get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself, your academic training, and your field of expertise.
Sure. First, I'd like to say good morning, Dr. Jackson. It's always a pleasure, I think, to be in the room with you and to have a conversation. Just truly thankful for this dialogue this morning, and just thank you for the introduction. So, my background, I'm a Panther at heart. I attended Virginia Union University for undergrad, graduated class of 2008. I was a marketing major. So, the School of Business that I teach in now, I once was a student. After my time at VUU, I returned back to the Washington, D.C. area where I really dived into my career. Many people know I talk about this a lot, but one of my mentors is Kenny Burns. He's an entertainment industry veteran. And so after undergrad, I worked with him, started out as an intern, ended up becoming the general manager of his boutique agency. And working with him, I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about like lifestyle marketing, cross branding, and it really kind of gave me a lot of the tangible tools I currently use now, just for working with clients, or even I talk about in the classroom. But even while I was working with Kenny Burns during the same time, I started graduate school, and I attended a school called Full Sail University. It's a liberal arts school in Florida, and I majored in entertainment business, and it really kind of helped give me a lot of the foundation I needed, just in kind of understanding where I wanted to go in the entertainment field, as well as just over time I started to learn that in a lot of other industries, a lot of things that are kind of special for entertainment, or make entertainment what it is as a business model, they can kind of work in a lot of other industries like the nonprofit industry, or even you think about healthcare. So I really accredit a lot of my success, just really starting out in this entertainment space, but really being able to grow and mature over times, and just taking what I've learned and just applying it to other industries. Because I think the biggest thing I've learned over time is, no matter the industry you're in, everyone wants a product or a service that's appealing, or really that's cool. We can use a lot of different words for it, but it really comes down where people want to present things that are attractive and very compelling.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. Very good. Because so then talk a little bit about your work now as the executive director of the Ruth Coles Harris Leadership Institute. And then how does all that tie in to where you are in the space now?
Sure. So I was appointed the executive director of the Institute fall 2020. Prior to that, I worked as the scholar in residence for the Institute. So I worked as a scholar in residence from the inception, from 2018 all the way to spring 2020. And during those first 2 years of the Institute were like very critical, where I served a lot with just developing programming. And some of the programs we were able to do was a visiting scholars series, where I was able to have a lot of close friends, or even just professionals within the industry, come to Virginia Union, really create workshops about lessons learned from their career, or industries they're working in. And with doing that, it really exposed students to a lot of different personalities, as well as just a lot of different career paths. I was able to have a good friend of mine, Bruce Fields. He's a project manager at Wieden Kennedy. Wieden Kennedy is a very popular and major advertising agency, to even having Chauncey Jenkins, who was the former general manager of Lemaire. Well, he's now the general manager of Common House Richmond. He came to give a talk about hospitality management. And you can kind of see now with the universities moving, where now we have a master's in hospitality management. So I think a lot of the programming initially the Institute was able to do was really just broadening, the minds of business students, just about opportunities within leadership. With being executive director, it's definitely been kind of different, just starting since we've been in COVID. But this semester, we've been able to kick off some virtual workshops. The series we're doing for the spring 2021 semester is She Means Business. And with this, it's a women led dialogue about entrepreneurship and leadership. One of the focuses for this semester, we really wanted to focus on women in leadership, as well as women in entrepreneurship. So for our first workshop we had in March, we were able to have the founders of the Jackson War Collective as panelists. And the Jackson War Collective is an incubator focused on really helping Black-owned businesses, as well as entrepreneurs, really scale their businesses and find funding, or really get the assistance they need when it comes to startups. But the great thing about the organization, it was founded by 3 Black women. And so we were able to have a dialogue with them about individually their experiences, how the Jackson War Collective has come together, and the things they're doing in the community. Our next workshop is going to be April 27th. And with that workshop, we're focusing on uh, women led startups. So we'll be having a panel of 3 women who are based in Richmond that have their own brands. And over the last few years, I've had the privilege of watching their brands grow to really establish brands and products that people really are supporting, and they really have an establishment here in Richmond. So I think the biggest thing for the Institute right now is just the exposure. I think my whole thing, just on with anything I do with programming, with the university, I always try to focus on how can we create a bridge between Virginia Union and the Richmond community. And I think the more we do that, it's the more that people will kind of really understand and value, the heritage and the legacy of VUU.
Mhm. Thank you for that. Um, I do have some questions around that, but that may go into another 2-hour conversation. So, but yes, that sounds very interesting. And who knew? I really didn't know that. And thank you for sharing that. So that's planting some seeds for all of us. And we're going to want to learn a little bit more about that. So we'll be in touch with you to learn a little bit more about that effort. But can you talk a little bit about what attracted you to become part of the VUU family? Because of your background, all the things in entertainment and you could be doing or may want to have done. But here you are with us, lending us your expertise and talent. What attracted you to be a part of the VUU family?
Well, it was always my goal to teach one day. I just never knew when. I know in 2015, the opportunity presented itself, where during that time, my family and I, we transitioned from living in Maryland back to Richmond. And in that, was just having a lot of conversations. I'm a firm believer, anything you want in life, definitely open your mouth and ask for it. And at the time, there wasn't a job posting for an adjunct professor in marketing. But just started to talk to some of my old professors. One of the professors I was able to talk to was Mrs. Lloyd. She's the chair of marketing, and it's really kind of updated her on where I was at in life, things I've accomplished in marketing, and just what I was looking to do. The fact that I was now relocated in Richmond, and one of my goals or something I was exploring was the idea of teaching. At the time, I had an idea for a course. The fact that I was so heavy working in entertainment, I felt that teaching an entertainment marketing course would be something that would be different, but probably exciting, for a lot of marketing majors. She loved the idea at the time. I created a syllabus and a proposal. I submitted it to the dean, and I was granted the opportunity. And from fall 15 till now, I've had the privilege of teaching a range of different marketing classes, from entertainment marketing to database marketing, online marketing, promotional strategy, global marketing. Like the list can go on, but I think in it, I've just always just been open to work. That's one of the things I can say is really at the core of who I am. I think one of the things I really learned early on in life that kind of really helped me is always be willing to do the work that no one wants to do but needs to be done. And so I think a lot of my dedication to VU is really seeing the bigger picture, or really believing in the long-term vision of what I really believe the university means in the grand scheme of everything else. And whatever I can do to be an advocate, or just help add to that legacy, I'm more than willing to do.
So, so currently, but it sounds like you're well-rounded in the marketing area. What are you currently teaching? Because of course I called you professor. So
Yeah.
we know besides wearing that executive director hat, you're still wearing that teacher hat. What are you teaching currently?
Currently, I'm teaching promotional strategy and organization marketing. So, organization marketing is a more of a B2B class, business to business class. So, with that, really just going over tactics about selling and just really breaking down case studies of other successful B2B organizations and their selling tactics and strategies. So those are the two primary classes I'm teaching this semester. I know promotional strategy is an ongoing class I've been teaching. It's more of a senior level course where with taking that course, most of the time, a lot of students I have already gone through a lot of their marketing electives, and this may be like their capstone class or their last class they need for their marketing. And with this, we kind of really look at everything we've learned, over, the last 4 years, and how can we really start to build big strategies, or even thinking about product rollouts for new products, or even diversifying into new services.
It's interesting. They are very fortunate to have someone like yourself to share that information. Just listening to you, it sounds like it's a very interesting, alluring class because you're dealing with very current information and things that can inspire them because of your background and your exposure. So thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you then, and this is from a student perspective, if you were giving some advice, what would you give, what advice would you give a student who may be considering majoring or minoring or having a business in this area? What advice would you give them?
Really
Go
do your
ahead. Go ahead.
research.
Do,
Yeah, I'm sorry. You
no,
were.
please
Oh.
go. Yes. Uh-huh.
So I think the first thing I would say is really do your research. Um, One of the things I've learned while being at Virginia Union as a student as well as a professor, I think a lot of times students can pick majors because someone else tells you this is a good major for you. And with doing that, I've encountered students, that they're in their senior year and they don't have an idea of what can I really do as a career with this major that's in line with my interests or my likes. And I think that's like the first disconnect, where if you really don't have an idea of where this major can take you and how it's going to align with the life you want. I think another thing is, really finding a mentor, finding someone who's doing what you want to do. And it might not even be the whole thing of really getting in contact with this person. It could just be something as simple as just looking at this person's life and studying it. What did they do? You know, uh, what things did they do, or what things did work for them, or what didn't work for them. Um, then the final thing I'll say is be open to this idea of having a parallel life. Um, I talk to my students about it a lot. For me, when I graduated undergrad, it wasn't just me falling completely into the career I wanted. When I first started, I had an internship and I wasn't paid. And with that, this was, I had many internships during undergrad, but with this, I saw the opportunity where with this internship, it could position me, long term in the career I really wanted to be in. But with it, I had to figure out a way to kind of take care of myself as an adult. How do I pay bills, or how do I just be able to keep up, week to week with everything. And so in it, I had to figure out a way of how to create a parallel life where I have my dream on one side, but I need to find something, as a job that I can do that's, going to keep money in my pocket, help me fund my dream. And I'm very adamant about that because I think a lot of times we could be like, as a society, we can be all of nothing, where you feel like I have to put all my eggs in one basket. This is all I want to do, and if it doesn't work out, I'm not doing anything. Where I think we're having that flexibility of just realizing that me working towards my dream may not be easy, but it's really about the sacrifices. And so I guess the final takeaway I would just even tell somebody is really be selfish with your time while you're young. Like, be very selfish. Like, be very selfish with your time. And what I mean about that is, even this summer, I know everyone's very anxious about this summer, but I think with this summer, this could be a defining moment for a lot of people where are you going to spend this whole summer partying and hanging out with your friends, or is this going to be a summer where you really invest in yourself? And that's the whole thing when I talk about being selfish with your time, where like, how can you make sure you're investing, the right amount of time into yourself and into your dream?
That's great advice. And I do want to have a follow-up conversation with you about the parallel life concept. I
Okay.
really embrace that and like to have some more conversation about that with you very soon.
Cool.
But let me then ask, given that most teaching facilities have had to move to more of a virtual space to learn, how has that impacted the way in which you provide your leadership as an executive director, and then your leadership as a faculty person who's teaching these very hands-on type of courses? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. I think a big piece of I think my formula has been really in-person programming. I think with that, I figured out a way, to really how to take something, even as a workshop, and make it very intimate, or just kind of understanding how to curate at a level when it comes to programs that, we're reaching a success point, or we're reaching our mark. We're like, this is a success, or this is very good. I think it definitely was an adjustment, even with the classroom, because even with the classroom, a lot of times my style of teaching is like really 3 points. Um, it's some type of form of media, a lecture, and then like group discussion or group collaboration or something. And so with that, it can kind of take an hour or an hour and a half class, and it breaks it up to chunks where I'm able to keep students engaged. Where we may start the class with watching a video, it goes into me giving a lecture, and then we may break into groups and do like some type of exercise around it. With it being virtual, it definitely changed a lot of things where I kind of had to figure out other ways to keep students engaged. I think it changed my lecturing style, to be something more about how can I focus really about where society is at now, or what's on trend, and where I can kind of speak to that and really open the dialogue with students about how do you think this is going to affect the near future, or how can this be something that changes the impact or the landscape of how we look at an industry. And so it's been a challenge, but I think in it, with anything, I've had to adjust. One of the things I'm very adamant with my students is really getting them to adjust with this. I think it was one thing when we were, I think initially in COVID, during spring 2020. I think that semester was definitely a shift for everybody. But I think once we got into the fall and now we're in the spring, I know everyone's hopeful that things will open up, but one of the things I tell my students is like really embrace where we're at. I think, as marketers, as business leaders, we have to embrace, our limitations and the constraints we have. And, this is a constraint, but the plus side, I push a lot of them too, is the whole idea of how remote work is something that a lot more organizations and companies are open to right now. And so in it, just really pushing students like, hey, this could be the opportunity where you feel like I don't know how to move to New York or LA for this job, where, this could be your end, or even just figuring out how to make the most use of your time, where, you know, most students aren't in Richmond. Some are still in their home state. So like, how are you really utilizing, your time where you're not at school now, or like, what are you doing? And so I think in that, I've definitely been able to kind of change and adjust, but I think it's a continual adjustment with it, because I think learning styles or how education is going to be presented, I think is definitely going to change. I think even I know we were talking about this earlier, the whole idea of hybrid education or that approach. I think that's something we're going to see on all levels, even from grade school to college, where it'll be interesting to see how that scales or, what the next steps are for that. But I think, just coming from the industry, I work in traditionally with marketing, where, that's always changing. I think that kind of gives me the flexibility to kind of realize, like, how can I be very agile right now, but how can I make sure I'm giving the best support, to students?
Very good. Well, believe it or not, we are coming to an end for our faculty spotlight today. And I do have some last thoughts and questions for you before we wrap up. A question came from one of the participants. Do you have plans to pursue a doctorate?
I do. I do. It's on the list of many things I want to do. I'm not sure when, but I do want to get a doctorate. So that is on the list.
I think this same person would say, do you have an idea in what area?
Yes, business, more than likely marketing, or if not marketing, probably supply chains management or like international business, but definitely business as a focus.
Okay, very good. And as we come to really a screeching halt very shortly, I do have a question to ask you. And this is not your professor hat, not your executive director hat, but you have a creative firm, Dream for Purpose. Can you just give us a little nugget of what that is?
Dream for Purpose uh, is a creative firm that me and my wife Whitney run. With it, it's definitely been a lot of things and it's grown over time. But I think the main focus of it is just really using it as a consultant arm or a consultant vehicle to really work with other brands or other companies. Outside of that, with Dream for Purpose, me and my wife been able to create a lot of I think unique functional products as well as do a range of different art installations. In 2020, with Dream for Purpose, we did 4 traveling art installations in the state of Virginia called Black is Beautiful. It was a billboard installation. We had it in Richmond, Norfolk, Charlottesville, and Tappahannock. And that's just like one example of the work we do. But I think if I had to kind of categorize the marketing we do, it definitely falls into like a space of advocacy marketing where a lot of the companies we work with for brands, either fall into like this nonprofit, cause space, or it's a brand, really trying to figure out, how can they have a stronger position when it comes to like corporate social responsibility.
Well, here we are at the end of our faculty spotlight, and I like to just thank you so much, Ricky Parker, professor, executive director, just advocacy person. You're just all around educator, and we appreciate you so much for lending your talents and your expertise and your specificity to the Virginia Union University family. I look forward to having more conversations with you in the near future. And for all of you who attended today, we thank you for just coming into our space to hear this wonderful conversation with another one of our great faculty persons here on campus. And I'd like to give another shout out to Dr. Strayhorn for providing this great launch of a faculty spotlight series where we get a chance to highlight and hear the wonderful things that our faculty are doing here on campus. Again, thank you all. Have a wonderful day and a safe weekend. Until the next time. Thank you. Thank
Thank,
you, Ricky, so much. It's been a
thank you,
pleasure.
Dr. Jackson. Appreciate
It
it.
has been a pleasure. We'll be in touch very, very soon.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Likewise.
Love the conversation. It was very good. Very, very good. Very strong conversation. Thank you.